stupid me forgot the camera, but here we are, ready to drop the motor back on, the power head back on the actual midsection. So we got our shift shaft in place. We hit it with a little shot of 2,4-C multi-lube. We got our shift arm kind of out of the way here. That's why that shift arm needs to be installed, or the shift slider needs to be installed because it's hard to get at. Alrighty, so I know I didn't film much because I don't really have a tripod for my camera, but all I did was I did up all the bolts along the side. You probably can't see them. As you see, I put the carbs on. So we got a spring here, our choke assembly. Choke moves nice and freely. We put a little Loctite on these bolts so that this guy doesn't go taking off. So the solenoid will yank this up into place when we get that back on. We're still going to put our fuel filter in. I had an oh crap moment on the distributor when I realized that the key was missing, and turns out I just spilt the bag inside my parts box and it was in the bottom there. So we temporarily installed our spark plugs, and this thing has a shite ton of compression. So I'm kind of excited, but my wife is yelling at me, we need to go home, so I need to wrap it up for the night. Okay, so where we picked up from the last time, you can see that my side cover is awfully dirty. And that's because somebody had told me on one of the Mercury pages that you're supposed to put, well, he said you're supposed to put grease, but upon further research I discovered that a lot of people use black RTV, which is exactly what I used. The distributor mount is back in. So we've got our timing pointer here. This is the one that lines up with the distributor, I believe. So what we need to do is we need to put this guy onto the distributor drive key here. Okay, so see what we do here. Now this belt's a little tighter than it was before because this is a brand new belt. But you can see opposite the key, so there's a bottom piece here. I don't believe that that's keyed, but I think actually, you know what, it is. This is keyed here. Then the top part here is keyed, and on the opposite side of the key you'll see you got this teeny tiny little arrow, and if we look right down there, this arrow is pointing right at this indent in the flywheel here. That's the way we time this motor. We got our distributor in. I have a vacation in a week and a half, and I don't have time to wait for new terminals and dick around with this anymore. So, unfortunately, this is the way it's going to have to be for now. There was nothing wrong with the original wires, nothing at all. They were running beautifully until the motor crapped itself. So next thing I'm going to do is we're going to attach this ground strap. We've got two here, one on either side, and two in the very back that go underneath on these screws here. Okay, so I have to pack it up for the night, unfortunately, but here's kind of where we're left off. So we got some of our wiring in. This is going to have to come out and around the starter somewhere. I don't know, this harness is incredibly long. I wish it wasn't so long, because you can see how short this guy is, and this guy's really, really long. So I'll have to figure it out. kind of where we're at right now. All the plugs aren't tight or anything like that. So we got this guy in here. We got all of our little ground braids in underneath here. Throttle linkage is in. Distributor is in. This guy's just got to get secured. Here we got to put our front plate on, and our front and back, whatever the hell they're called, put in. Our front plate, I think, goes over here, and our back mount goes over here. Yeah. The possibility of a test fire potentially next time if everything goes absolutely butter smoothly, which it never does on this thing. So, and we still have to do the water pump. So maybe the time after that we can hit the key on this thing for the first time. Okay, so last but not least, before I cook my shiny new motor, we're going to change the water pump. Okay, so now, take the full housing out. Everything she's got. So once we brought the boat up to Christina Lake, I put it in the water, I checked the ignition timing, and I set the idle mixture and idle speed adjustments. Then what we did was we puttered the boat around for about 2 hours or so. I kind of put it on the little makeshift trailer it usually sits on. I just kind of let it push against it for a couple hours, varying the throttle slightly until about 2 hours had passed. Then we decided to take her for a cruise. When she got up on plane, she performed absolutely beautifully. Just cruised like you wouldn't believe. I loved it. I was so happy with it. Anyways, we got about 5-6 hours of runtime on the boat while we were up at Christina Lake, and after about the 4th hour, I noticed the fuel economy tremendously improved. Compared to what it used to be like, it's actually burning significantly less fuel. Anyways, at about the 13-hour or so mark, I considered the motor to be broken in, and we used it for the remainder of the season. Towards the end of the season, I noticed that I had a bit of a misfire when it was cold. It would start up fine, it would run kind of rough, and when I went to get into the throttle, it would shake and shudder, and didn't quite like it until it got a little bit of warmth in it, and then all of a sudden it lit right up and was running on all four again. I thought, oh, maybe I just didn't let it warm up enough, so I tried it again, and sure enough, the same thing happened the next time I took it out. So I was a little worried about it, so I did a little bit of exploratory surgery and got into the motor and looked inside it. I took all 4 plugs out, compression checked them all, and they had an even 120 across the board, which is perfect for a motor that's healthy. Anyways, upon further inspection, I looked and cylinders 1 and 2 had a normal amount of carbon buildup. Cylinder number 3 kind of had a bit of a bare patch in the middle, and cylinder number 4 I could read the casting numbers off. It was so clean. And right away I knew that there was an issue. I knew that it was firing on all cylinders because it had a lot of power when you took off. But compared to what it should look like, there was something wrong there. So after polling the vintage Mercury outboard fanatics, they all said the same thing. Somehow it's pulling water into the bottom cylinder, either from the exhaust plate gasket leaking or from the base plate gasket. So I have myself a spring project. I'm probably going to have to pull the Powerhead off and replace the base plate gasket, and I'll probably do the exhaust plate gasket at the same time just for sanity's sake, make sure everything's all good for the next season. There's no sense in doing one but not the other. I don't want to have to pull the Powerhead mid-season, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. I may as well just do them both. It's not that hard of a job, it's just a little bit involved. Parts aren't all that expensive, but at least we got some good use out of it. She's running great. Lots and lots of power with those CCMS sport reads. So I'm super happy with it, and I'm really excited to get her fired up for next year. So you all stay tuned, and we will start in the spring with the repairs to it. Thank you all so much for watching, and thanks for all your support. Take it easy, everybody.